What's going on, everyone? Happy Sunday to everyone. It's been a long time since we did a climate update, so it is time we do another climate update for Sunday, October 15th, 2023. Several things I want to show you today. First off, let's take a look at the climate events that occurred around the world in the month of September. It was a very active month, and yes, some records were definitely broken in the months of September. Let's start in North America. Well, first off, as you can see here, North America had its warmest September on record. The continental U.S. had its seventh warmest September on record. And you might recall in New York City, a slow moving storm brought heavy rainfall and flash flooding to New York City back on September 29th at the end of the month, which shut down subway lines and grounded flights, submerged roadways, and prompted the governor to declare a state of emergency. You remember, New York City on that day was pretty much impassable. South America had its warmest September on record. Brazil, an extratropical cyclone dumped more than 300 millimeters, nearly 12 inches of rain in 24 hours on the Brazilian states of Rio Grande do Sul and Santa Catarina in early September, triggering landslides and flooding that led to the death of more than 30 people. Global ocean. For the sixth consecutive month, global ocean surface temperatures hit a monthly record high. Then we come over to Europe. Europe had its warmest September on record. Denmark, in September in Denmark was record warm, and an unusual occurrence was warmer than both July and August of 2023. Imagine that, September being warmer than July and August. That's pretty remarkable. And it doesn't stop there. The United Kingdom experienced a 7-day heat wave in early September, the longest on record for September, and tied 2006 for its warmest September on record. Libya, on September 10th, Storm Daniel brought strong winds and unprecedented amount of rain to eastern Libya, which caused massive destruction, including bursting dams, many towns, and led to the death of more than 10,000 people. Antarctica, 2 months of below average temperatures. Antarctica had its warmest September on record. So that's after 2 months of below average temperatures. And the Antarctic sea ice extent hit a record low for the fifth consecutive month and set a record low annually. Antarctica sea ice maximum event on September 10th. Then we come over to Asia, which had its second warmest September. Japan recorded its warmest September in 125 years. And Typhoon Saola brought heavy wind and rain to Hong Kong in early September, causing flooding, storm surge, and landslides in many coastal areas. Oceania had its third warmest September on record. So globally, yes, this was a very active September. And the global average temperature, September 2023, average global surface temperature ranked highest for September since global records began back in 1850. Wow. So what a September it was. Now let's take a look at North America and the United States, specifically the United States. And you can see the storm system that was in the Northeast yesterday. It is exiting the coast to the east, and that's going to continue to do so. Behind it, it is still breezy, and we have this area of cloud cover. We have some upper level energy that could spark a few showers over the next couple days in the east, and generally below average temperatures. I know here in Philadelphia right now, it is currently 57 degrees outside, which that is below average temperatures. And take a look at the west coast. We do have some cloud cover that is moving into the Pacific Northwest, and that could spark some shower activity for extreme northwest portions of Washington State. Down in the south, not all that bad right now. You can see some cloud cover is moving into the Gulf Coast states, but generally quiet conditions. Let's take a look at the latest air quality values, and you will see air quality values are not all that bad across the country, but we do have some concerning levels across the West Coast from wildfires, which have once again become an issue. But the rest of the country is not doing too bad. You see a few high sites here and there. Not sure what all that is really about. Now let's take a look at the latest forecast from the Storm Prediction Center, and all is quiet on the severe weather front. You can actually see on this radar picture here those showers that we're talking about. It's upper level energy. It's just instability related. And taking a look now at the National Hurricane Center, we do have here Sean, which is continuing. And Sean is now a depression. We also do have another system that could become a named system. And we have to watch that as it goes westward because that could eventually affect the Leeward Islands. I'll show that to you on the GFS in just a second. First off, let's take a look at the GFS for the United States. And you can see here, we do have this trough that is in the east, and I'll show that to you. You can see there is this troughing that's ongoing in the east. That energy is going to continue throughout the week. Then as we head into the middle portion of the week, we have to watch this disturbance right here. We're at the 500 millibar level, and there's a reason why we're at the 500 millibar level. This disturbance is going to sink southward and eastward, and with that, it could get rather interesting. The question is, does this cut off? Does this stay a little bit more north? Either way, there is going to be a storm system that develops in the northeast, and that is something that we're going to have to watch because it could become a strong storm system. And you can see there's a relatively strong trough here. But you also see by the time we get to next weekend, there is a ridge on the west coast which is going to provide some warmer weather. So we'll have to watch this. You can see here, it does tend to cut off late next weekend. And let me show you surface view of this system. Here it is right here. Here's the disturbance. It's going to be in the plains by the middle of the week. It's not going to have much moisture to begin with, but it's this front that we have to watch. As it comes east, it does pick up some Gulf moisture. It does pick up some Atlantic moisture. And look what happens here. An area of low pressure does develop by next Saturday. And as you can see, the West Coast, you're remaining quiet for much of the week. But look at this here. This system becomes a strong system over New England. I mean, some heavy rainfall, winds, there's going to be strong winds wrapping around us. 30, 40 mile per hour gust, not out of the question. And you can see here, yes, there is even some blue in Canada. That is snow. The backside of this could have some snow up in Canada as there's going to be cold air. And behind us, late next weekend, it's going to be really windy conditions. And take a look at temperatures with this system. I mean, we're talking some of the coldest air of the season behind this system. You can see, yes, frost and freezes will happen along the Appalachian Mountains, maybe even up into the Great Lakes. The West Coast, yes, you could be talking some freezing temperatures in the mountains as well. And overall, prior to that this week, it's really just slightly above average temperatures across the country with a little bit of warming ahead of this system. Down into South Texas, you will be into the mid 80s again. And beyond that point, look at this. Overall, not that bad. Now let's switch gears a little bit. Now let's switch and go over to the Atlantic. And I want to show you that system that I was just talking about from the Hurricane Center. Here it is right here. The GFS does not do much with it. There it is. It does develop into depression, maybe a tropical storm, north of the Leeward Islands. It's something we'll have to watch. Will become a named system? Possibly. Could it impact Bermuda? It's possible, but not likely. Because remember that system I just told you about in New England for next weekend and the Northeast states? Well, that develops a trough, and that trough is going to hopefully push this more east. So as of right now, this is not a threat at all to the United States. The only wild card is, does it become a threat to Bermuda? Let's take a look at another model for this. We'll take a look at the Canadian real quickly. And here's the Canadian. The Canadian is a bit more southwest. Does almost take it close to Puerto Rico. So that's something we'll have to watch. But again, the Canadian as well, because of the strong push of that trough, does not take this into Bermuda. So it's something we'll keep an eye on for the Leeward Islands and maybe Puerto Rico, but at this point I'm not terribly concerned. And incidentally, take a look at the Canadian for that system next weekend in the Northeast. You can see it does develop it a little bit slower than the GFS. So that's something we'll have to keep note on as well. Let's take a look at the temperature outlook for 6 to 10 days. Yes, the first part of this is going to be below average in the east and above average in the west. We're not talking extreme heat, but above average for October standards, and that will work its way east a little bit. And the axis of this above average temperatures is going to be right along the Gulf Coast in Louisiana and Texas, near normal to slightly below average in the Pacific Northwest, slightly below average precipitation in the southeast. Again, aside from the system that will be in the northeast next weekend, this is not a terribly active pattern across the country. So we're not talking any big flooding events or anything like that. 8 to 14-day outlook gets slightly more accurate with some above average precipitation across the plains and the west. But again, I'm not terribly concerned about any big storm systems at this point, aside from what we're going to see next weekend. And below average is going to be the theme in the east. So really, we're looking at a quiet weather pattern. Keep an eye on that system in the northeast. It could definitely be a strong one, and it definitely could bring some rain and some wind. But after that, things get quieter, and we will see a slightly below average temperature period in the northeast before things will once again, go slightly above average at the end of this month going into the start of November. Alrighty guys, that does it for today's climate update. If you like this, give it a thumbs up. If you want to see more content like this, subscribe to my channel down below and share this with anyone who wants to see this. I promise you we're going to start doing more updates more frequently. I will see you all again next time. Thanks for watching. Have a great Sunday afternoon.